What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am joined once again by the go to true OG. You know him. It's Paulie D. Paulie D, what's happening?
On this one game slate, I think it's the first time we've ever streamed for a one game slizzy. Yeah. I'm happy to do it, because I'm still playing, and if I'm playing, I want to chop it up with you and the nation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
No doubt. Yeah, it's gonna be a little different talking about one game, but I think we plan on doing a show for the Super Bowl anyway and all that stuff. So I guess we got to get used to it one way or another. And clearly the demand for the showdown, like the market for the showdown, is growing. People are starting to realize that they can make money there. I think there's a common perception, and I'm not saying it's a wrong perception, but there's a common perception that everybody's going to tie. It's a one-game slate. Well, if you look at some of the dudes in the industry that seem to have figured it out, if you're playing in the right contest, if you're playing the right way, there's definitely money to be made in these showdowns. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Showdown City, baby.
Showdown City. Oh, damn.
There is, and even the second half ones, I even kind of enjoy. Unfortunately, the contests, unless it's football, like a primetime game, are just shitty. But maybe tonight they're not bad. I didn't even look, but you get an idea of the way the game is flowing. Who's got foul trouble, yada yada. It's just you get it's I think in anything, betting, DFS, once the game starts, you have a much better idea of what you think is going to work out, and the second half offers that ability to kind of act that. I think the fields are much weaker, and you can kind of hedge against some of your full game stuff. So even the second halves are enjoyable, and on a day like today, you might as well get a little piece of that. But they're better than I thought. I should have given them a chance earlier, and they're really they have their spots where they're good.
Yeah, when you have no choice. When there's only one game on the entire slate and there's nothing else to play. Shout out to the hockey guys. If you haven't played hockey or NHL DFS, the NBA All-Star break's coming up. That could be a good time to play it. Today, if you don't want the showdown stuff, that would have been a good time to play it. But we got a really good hockey crew. We don't do any shows for that. It's all behind a paywall. But today, the hockey stuff was free. So hopefully people were able to take advantage. We put out the 2 articles for free today. But we have a really good hockey team. Aside from that, I'm with you, man. Normally on last year this time we had one game slate, I probably would be playing hockey.
Yeah.
But again, we've seen it. I think that we weren't aggressive to hop on the showdowns, and I think that now we see that there is some value there, and so we're here. You know what I mean? And we're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to do dirties.
Even the second half one, they have a $10 58 max with $5K up top, or a $1 20 max with $1.50 up top. Not bad. You know what I mean? And the contest for this, we're good. I'm cool with it. And then what else are you gonna do, right? I'm disappointed in the NBA the way they scheduled this shit out. We got 13 or something games tomorrow. We couldn't have 4 of them today.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, that was just dumb. Especially after yesterday, yesterday, just multiple slates that they botched that whole thing. The DraftKings botched it, and it led to the NBA botched the schedule, which led to just the people getting screwed. But WiseTake Nation is going to do everything it can to make things right and bring you that fire and help you take down some donkeys tonight. That's what we're going to do. Definitely interested to hear your thoughts. We have 2 pretty good teams. The Clippers, I know, one of the best teams in the game going, and Luka, in my opinion, the best player going at the moment. Maybe that's bold to some people, that the hardened truthers, and I'm not even like Giannis to me is in a different world, because Giannis doesn't get the same opportunity as these other guys, right? He's always playing 29 minutes, 28 minutes. He's not getting
best fantasy player going, I think.
Yes. Well, really. Well, let me ask you a question. Who do you think is better, real basketball wise? Who was Giannis?
Harden.
You think Harden is a better real basketball player than Luka?
Absolutely, yeah. Harden, Kawhi, um, maybe AD, but that's about it.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue against
And
most of
Luka's
those
young;
guys.
he's like 20.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. So he could
he's
ultimately
got ways to go.
he can end up being the best player.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the Harden one, I don't know. Like to
Are
me,
you crazy?
to me, he's the one from a fantasy perspective. Like I respect the usage, I respect everything he does, but from a real basketball perspective, do you really want to live or die that much with one player? Like I guess Dallas is doing the same thing and it's working for him. It's worked.
Yeah, I mean,
It's worked for the Rockets to an extent, right?
right.
But they haven't
They,
quite made
they
it.
don't really surround them with like a ton of talent the way like LeBron does or like the Warriors. Like it's basically been him and like Chris Paul. Like
Right. But that's the thing. Like,
I think it.
but also keep in mind, him and Chris Paul didn't work out because him and Chris Paul didn't get along.
Yeah,
It's a matter of
because Chris
fine.
Paul's the wrong piece. Him
Agreed.
and Paul George would.
Maybe. But would Paul George be okay with Harden? You know what I'm saying? Like being the guy. Like can James Harden really like can he play with somebody and actually utilize them? Or
Yeah,
because in the playoffs, that's what you're looking for. The staggering studs like the Westbrook Harden that works during the season because one guy comes out, but in the
yeah,
playoffs when
yeah,
everybody's playing 40 some minutes, can they play together?
yeah. I think him and AD would be the best combination though in basketball.
Yeah,
Harden and AD.
yeah. I mean,
But
absolutely, without a doubt. Like Capella's a good player, but if Capella was like obviously an elite player, you could imagine what the assist numbers would look like for guys like James Harden.
yeah,
He's making it work with Capella,
yeah.
who's not even that big. You can imagine if he
He's
actually,
like 6'9".
right. If he actually had a dude that could really do dirties that way. But yeah, I'm with you, man. A lot of time. We got a lot of time, so it's fun. We can discuss other things real quick. Gonna remind everybody if you're playing PGA, the PGA Wise stream will be later today. I think around 9:30 is the scheduled start time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. With Shockey. Last time Shockey, we weren't on YouTube, but last time Shockey put on like sunglasses and like a security hat. He motherfucker looked like the mall cop or some shit, but it worked. It was cool. But they're doing a great job in general. With that said, we are going to answer some questions. I see a few of them already here. Some of them requests, some of them actual questions. We will get to them in a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit about this game. And I think the first thing I'm going to ask you is, before we even get into the actual game itself, talk to me about, from a DFS perspective, what your strategy is approaching a showdown slate like this.
So, I'm playing the 20 lineups and the $4, and like I'm looking at this as like, the money's burnt, it's already lost, and I'm just gonna have some fun and try to win it. So I'm gonna try to be as contrarian as possible in like one facet, right? Like I think when I did some research on the showdown slates last year, and for FanDuel, like you've got to put the highest raw scorer in the top spot, no matter what. I've never seen that um, not be the case, right? The way that their scoring system works and the way that they're pricing, point per dollar doesn't really come into play in that system because it's like 2 points, 1.5, 1.25, right? So you just need the highest raw points up at the top. The pricing doesn't change.
Right.
DraftKings, with like the pricing changing from being in the captain to not, and that fact alone makes point per dollar and lineup construction like a real discussion. And like I've seen having the highest raw scoring player in the captain spot be the optimal way. And I've seen like strange players like that are the better point per dollar plays, and allowing you, because you're not using as much for the captain, you have more salary, allowing you to get a more like balanced lineup be the optimal strategy. So, with the particular players today, I'm just expecting Luka to be like the overwhelming highest owned captain, and I'm just going to completely fade him in the captain spot. Um, do I think it's the best approach? I don't know, but I know it'll be contrarian, and ultimately, I think like not spending all that money and like having a more balanced lineup will be the path. So that's the way I'm going. And even with Kawhi, I'm going to be a little bit underweight. I'm looking at like Lou Williams, Montrez, um, Dwight Powell, Seth Curry, Delon Wright, and Pat Bev as my captains for the most part. And even like a little bit of like Jalen Brunson and like loading up the lineup with all the studs on the slate, I think is interesting. So I'm going to be fading Luka in the captain and underweight on Kawhi and hoping that it's not like a stars and scrubs slate and it's more balanced and you need more of the mid tier and more of a balanced lineup. That's how I'm going to be approaching it.
It's funny because we do game by game breakdowns all the time, obviously, especially on smaller slates, and like we talk about the blowout build. And there's players that you mention. Like if you really want to go gung ho with the blowout, this guy, but like you don't. Then we're not talking about guys who are really going to play a lot. We're talking about guys maybe like 3% of your teams or 5%. We here and then when it's a 1-game slate, like you really are like seriously considering these guys, and considering the game flows and the potential for blowout. We have a tight spread, so a contrarian build today would be to build for a blowout. And just in general, like it's not like regular NBA DFS. You're just looking for the best play. Whatever the game comes from, I don't care. I'm looking for the best possible plays. But on a 1-game slate, like the better you can predict the flows of this game, the better off you're probably going to be if you're picking the right players to correlate. So I definitely think it's interesting. And, I expect Luka to be extremely popular, him and Kawhi to be the main two guys. Like you said, on FanDuel, there's really no reason not to. It's really the pricing. That's the main thing, right? Like if it's not going to cost you extra to play this guy, if you're going to play him anyway, why the hell wouldn't you throw him in the captain? Whereas on DraftKings, they punish you for that.
Right.
You're paying a premium to do that.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's like the merit to like, say, I don't know, Zubac goes off for 50 and it's a major blowout and he's the highest scorer. Like you will fucking win the contest because you'll be the only person like with that in FanDuel. It's just like, that's so rare and you'll probably end up losing money so often that the one time it pays off, it's just recouping what you've lost 1,000 times. It hasn't worked, but I have seen it work a few times where like, mostly in football though, where like, a contrarian player, like a specific one I remember was DeMarcus Robinson of the Chiefs when he scored 3 touchdowns in week 2 and like 2 or 3 people in the contest had him in the captain and they ran away with the contest, but in basketball, that's a lot rarer to happen.
Right. Absolutely. All right, let's get into the actual game itself. As far as injury news, Mo Harkless is expected to play. Kristaps Porzingis, yes, Mo Harkless is playing. He's probable. He's been probable all day. I'm pretty sure that actually we did get confirmation he's going to play. Regardless, Kristaps Porzingis is one of the other pieces from the Dallas side. Obviously, he's also ruled in. All they said about his minutes is that he was going to be playing in shorter spurts than usual. So you figure maybe he doesn't get the full 30. Maybe he gets close. Maybe I would say 30 is like a cap. But like it doesn't seem like he's going to be on any like super restriction. But we don't know. We haven't heard a number. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the game. 233.5 total. This total has gone up 2.5 points from 231. The Mavericks opened up 1.5. They're up to -2.5. I guess we'll start off with the Clippers side of the ball first. Paulie, the road team. Talk to me about Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, with Paul George out, the usage is going to come from Kawhi, Lou Williams, and Montrez. I think they're, in that order, the most likely to be the highest raw scoring players. And like, but they're significantly, Montrez and Lou Williams are significantly cheaper than Kawhi Leonard. And like, I guess you could throw Pat Bev in the mix. He has the random 40-point outburst and like, but he's not far enough away from Lou Williams and Montrez for me to really get too excited about him. And then in the value, like on the value front, Landry Shamet kind of interests me. He's super cheap, like 4,500 in the captain. I think he's 3K non-captain. The minutes have been really strong. Basically like 28 to 32 in the last 15 games. Double-digit shot attempts, 3 out of his last 7 games, and like he can get really hot from 3. And like, at his price, if he can get to like a 30, he probably will be the highest point per dollar play. So he's a guy I'm playing with a little bit in the captain. Zubac, we know he's got a big ceiling. Dallas is not very good against centers. Um, the minutes are hard to come by. He doesn't play in blowout run, and he really doesn't close games all that often. So it's like he's really got to do well early and at the beginning of the second half, get that double-double, and, kind of just be doing so well that they extend his minutes. Like you'll see in some of his ceiling games, he plays closer to like 25, 28, but usually he averages around 18 to 20. He's just a guy that has a high ceiling. So I'll use him a little bit because he's cheap and I think it's a decent spot. That's really it for the captain out of this team. Other guys I'll be mixing into non-captain spots. Rodney Magruder for 1,400, Jerome Robinson for 1,800, and some Mo Harkless who just got ruled in that I don't think most of the field is really considering playing very much. And maybe like a little J. Michael Green, Patrick Patterson, although with Mo Harkless ruled in, I kind of lost a bunch of interest in J. Michael Green and Pat. So, I think Brunson on the Dallas is going to be a really popular, cheap option. And Shamet, Jerome Robinson, to some extent Magruder, I think are interesting pivots. I think Shamet's the only realistic one that can outscore him, and he's, significantly more expensive. But, the cheap guy, everyone's going to have, 3 out of 4 of the studs on the slate in most of their lineups. And it really comes down to the 2 or 3 cheap guy combinations that set you apart. And again, I'm treating this more as a fun, hope to get lucky and win a tournament. So I'm going to be overweight on those more variant plays like Shamet, Magruder, Jerome Robinson, Zubac, Harkless, and just hope that, I catch the right combination in the lineup where one of those guys does well and I have more than the rest of the field. But those are the guys I'm looking at. My favorite is Lou Williams, followed by Kawhi, and then Montrez and Pat Bev of the studs.
Yeah, in terms of captains, obviously Kawhi, like you said, I think you could make an argument that he's almost more optimal than Luka to a degree, just from the fact that Paul George is out and Kristaps Porzingis is in. I'm gonna play them both, obviously, but I do like the idea of putting Kawhi. He's going to be the second highest, obviously, behind Luka in the captain slot, but we know he's got the massive upside, massive ceiling. We know he can outscore Luka. There's a scenario where Luka does go for maybe 50, Kawhi goes for 60. After that, Lou Williams is probably my next favorite in that mid-range you had talked about. I'm with you. Guards have done the dirty to Dallas, scoring wings, anything like that. One thing about Dallas, they're not a good defensive team, and they do have size, though, down low. So not that they're great, but they have physical size. Between Porzingis, who's over 6'7" foot tall, between Powell, they got Kleber on the bench. They have Boban if they ever need it. So because of that, I like taking guys that could actually shoot, and Lou Williams is the definition of that, and that's why I think he's done so well. I think he's definitely a captain candidate. Not quite to that super punt build that I know you were talking about, the DeMarcus Robinson type build. I don't know if I have a player that I'm willing to try. Well, I think I do. And it probably is guys from the Clipper side anyway. We'll talk about the Mavericks side, but Shamet, right? A guy that you expect to play big minutes. Right, or Zubac, a guy that you expect to, just a higher point per minute player who is going to get at least some time.
Right.
So I'm good with that. Shamet, $3K on DraftKings? I think that's a fine value play. Yep. Jerome Robinson at 1,800 on DraftKings, an interesting pivot off of, like you said, Jalen Brunson, who I also expect to be popular. It's funny because Jalen Brunson's going to, we think he's going to be popular because of his price, and this is a guy that's playing 10 to 13 minutes. Even without Porzingis at this point. But at the end of the day, he has produced from a point per minute perspective. So yep. I understand it. But I think it does make sense to roll with some of these cheaper Clipper guys. The JaMychal Greens and all those, you can rotate all those dudes in. But I like those guys a little bit better than I would like the super cheap guys for the Dallas dudes. Because the usage is so concentrated in Dallas. It's just especially with Porzingis back, you know that those two guys do so much that I find that in general, I like more Clippers than I do Mavericks.
Agreed.
with that said, Paulie, take us to the other side of this. Talk to us about Dallas, and then we'll get into certain like game script scenarios.
Yeah, so like the return of Chris Stapps like really kind of hurts the rest of the players on their team, in my opinion. Like with him out, I was interested in Powell, Hardaway, Curry, Brunson, Delon Wright, Maxi Kleber, even Dorian Finney-Smith. Like with Chris Stapps in, I think like you could take a shot on Hardaway or Seth Curry, who can get hot from outside and at their prices, like could outpoint per dollar the field, in like one of those just ceiling, they shoot 8 of 10 from three kind of games. Maybe Dwight Powell, because everyone's running away from him with Chris Stapps in, and I still think he plays his 30 minutes, and like it's a great spot against the Clippers. But it's just really hard to see, like you just said. So like, because I'm fading Luka in the captain spot, I really don't think Chris Stapps is like really viable, that close in price to Luka. No, I'm sorry, he's not that close. I was looking at Chris Stapps as captain and Luka's normal, but just hard to see Chris Stapps being the highest scoring player on like with limited minutes and limited spurts. Hard for him to get into a rhythm. The only guys that I have in the captain from Dallas right now are Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry, and Tim Hardaway. And a little bit like maybe one lineup with Dwight Powell because of like I just don't think anyone will play him with Chris Stapps back. But it's mostly Clippers for me in the captain, and then just mixing in some of the Mavericks. Although I'm fading Luke in the captain, I have about 85% of him. I think he's on 17 of 20 teams. And it's just, there's no one else that's going to come anywhere close to what his raw score will be. And unless he gets hurt or fouls out or ejected, I don't see how he's not in the winning lineup. And then it's really like, it's mostly like 2 Mavs and 4 Clippers for me, or 5 Clippers and just Luka. Like, I'm curious. I'm going to go look how many teams where I even have 3 Mavericks, and most likely where that is where it's like Jalen Brunson as the last piece because I needed. He was the only guy who fit that was reasonable. So it's like, Luka plus a Hardaway, a Curry, a Powell, a Porzingis, a Kleber, and Jalen Brunson as the last piece. But other than that, I definitely don't have any 4 Maverick lineups.
Yeah, it's too tough. Like number one, when you're playing Luka, like you said, you had guys like Hardaway that you were maybe considering. I mean, Hardaway would have been a phenomenal play, I think, had Porzingis been out. But with Porzingis in, like you said, the usage was, we're already like nitpicking. We're already looking for a super efficient game that's mostly scoring dependent from him. And now you don't even know that he's going to get the shots. So yeah, I find the same thing. I find that I expect majority of my teams, at least the ones that have, especially the ones that have Luka in the captain, to really have a lot of Clipper player worked in. I'm with you. I think that Jalen Brunson at 1,200, if it's worth it, you can only really project him for 10 to 13 minutes at this point, but he still projects pretty well at that 1,200 price tag, and he's going to be the guy that's going to unlock you to get more. But as far as the Dallas side goes, I'm with you. I think that Dwight Powell is probably one of the more interesting ones as far as like regular plays that aren't like value or anything like that. Just because we know how bad the Clippers are against centers. So this is a really good spot for him to rebound. He's significantly bigger than Montrezl Harrell, which is one of the reasons that I do like Zubac today, because I think that they may prefer to have Zubac a little bit more because of the size. Because, again, him, Maxi Kleber, like they're going to constantly have guys if they want to bring in Boban, and they can force Harrell off the court if they want to. So that is one of the reasons I like Zubac. But Dwight Powell is probably, outside of Porzingis, I am going to play some Porzingis. I'm with you. I'm not huge on him in the captain. I just don't see him being the highest raw scorer. But I do see him being one of the highest raw scorers if this game is just not as great as everybody think it is, or if everybody like is kind of just sharing equally. If you're able to fit him in, I'm fine with it. I think right now, when I was doing some crunches before with our projections, I was getting around like 30% of him on like 40 teams. So it's him and Dwight. I'll have some of the Hardaway. I'll have some Jalen Brunson, maybe even a good amount of Jalen Brunson. But really, it's Luka. Like, he's just the main one. I'm with you. I'll have way more exposure to the Clippers. Now, talk to me about some of the different scenarios here, right? Like, there's a blowout, not blowout. But there's also, like, you can even go deeper. There's blowouts where one team does the dirty. Last night, that was the story with Boston. Boston played the Lakers. The Lakers
Mm-hmm.
all shit the bed. Almost all the Boston players smashed. But the game was a blowout. So talk to me about the different scenarios. I guess number one, talk to me about a scenario in which Dallas blows out. Oh, I guess first talk to me about the competitive scenario. Is that the Stars and Scrubs build to you, or is that the mid-tier build to you?
The blowout is probably the Stars and Scrubs because, um, the Stars on the blowing outside are going to have their ceiling games, and then the Scrubs on either side are going to get more minutes than expected, exceed their projections, be very good point per dollar, and be lower owned, right? And where the studs and mid tier on the losing teams probably underperform. So the blowouts and like in showdown format, you need to like over correlate, right? I think you can leave money on the table more than like normal. Like, your lineups really need to tell a story, so like if you've got Jalen Brunson, in the lineup as not just like the last piece to fit him in and hope he just outscores everyone else's, but like genuinely think the Clippers blow them out, right? Then like who else is going to get those minutes, right? Like, does that mean Boban gets some run? Does that, he who would also be a massive point per dollar, point per minute kind of producer? Does that mean somebody like Terrence Mann from, the Clippers gets additional run, and you have like Kawhi or Luka, most likely Kawhi. This is a Clippers blowout. So Kawhi and the captain, Montrezl and Lou Williams, and then like Jalen Brunson, Boban, and Terrence Mann. You probably have a bunch of money on the table there, but that could work if it's like one of those like middle of the third quarter, 40-point drubbings, right? Like Vegas ain't calling for that, but that'll be super contrarian and like, I think correlating more than like using salary is important. So, hard to see the Clippers get blown out. Although it is in Dallas, I'm curious how many times they've even got blown out this year. I mean, lately there's been some things with Paul George out, like some games that have surprised me, like the Knicks fucking hung in with the Clippers not too long ago. That was kind of a big surprise. But for Dallas to like blow them out by 30 or 40, I really don't envision that, But if it happens, then it's like Luka, Kristaps, and either Hardaway or Powell. The Clippers struggle versus big, so I would lean more towards like a Powell or a Kleber with Porzingis. And you can still grab like one, Clippers kind of decent player, more than likely like Lou Williams, who, if they're trailing, he's going to take a lot more shots, and then like when they kind of call it quits, who gets some run, and I haven't seen Zubac get blowout run much, so I wouldn't throw him. Maybe it's like a Rodney Magruder, maybe it's a Terrence Mann. And then it's probably guys like Seth Curry, Delon Wright, Jalen Brunson from the Dallas side that I would like finish those lineups out with. Then on the flip side, if we're talking about close games, right? Like, then who are the supporting cast players that exceed their prices? Is it like your Tim Hardaways, Montrez, Pat Beverly, Zubac, Mo Harkless? I think in the balance builds, like there's tons of scenarios and combinations that kind of work because it'll come down to like, who the higher scoring guys are. So it's like a close game. So like you're assuming it's got to be Luka from Dallas, and then it could be a variety of guys, right, from the Clippers. Like we've seen Pat Bev have these massive games. We've seen Zubac have big games. We've seen, more than likely Kawhi, but it could be Lou Williams and Montrez. Like, if you go through their game logs, there's just different nights from the Clippers. So, I think Luka's like the one, definite if it's a close game from the Dallas side, and then you can kind of mix and match the Clippers side. But, in a close game, I don't see how Luka's not optimal.
Yeah, I completely agree. We are what, like 23 minutes from lock. You want to try?
Yeah.
Let's mess around on DraftKings and go through like a build. We'll go through maybe a team that we think
Okay.
is optimal or something. I'm gonna pull it up and
Okay.
actually do it this time though, because since there's not as much to manage,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on. Let me just pull up a lineup page. I'm actually gonna plug this in. So if we're going optimal, aka cash game style, aka LD style, you know what that means if you've been with us for a minute. Holla.
Oh, we got a lineup. Doncic, Hardaway, Finney, Porzingis, and Powell for Dallas.
Nice.
As projected.
Hopefully the Clippers give us the dirty, because that's the one I want to see. They got Magruder started last game and played 32 minutes out of nowhere. They used him for defense. Like, I want to know. Dirty style. All right. Captain or MVP or whatever the fuck it's called. Damn
Right.
it. I mean,
optimal cash game.
Luka Duka, right?
I think it's Luka. Yeah.
Luka Duka Doncic. I agree.
Yeah. I think like in optimal, you're putting Kawhi in there too. You know, like next player.
Yeah.
Right. What does that leave us salary wise?
4,700.
4,700. So, it's been you can't even truly look back, to like when Porzingis played to like Dallas has been changing things up. We do have the Clippers lineup. Beverly, Shamet, Leonard, Harkless, Zubac.
Okay, Harkless. That's what I figured. I figured that Magruder would be out once Harkless was back. So, makes sense.
So, like, I don't know if that, like, dirt cheap Jalen Brunson is, like, the optimal play. Like, I think he'll be the most popular, and maybe for cash, if people are playing cash, that's, like, the way to go, because he'll probably be really popular because of what he allows the rest of the lineup to do. But with Porzingis back, I don't think he's, like, guaranteed to even play. What's your thoughts on that? Would you put Jalen Brunson in a cash lineup today?
I don't know. I don't think I would today, because like you said, with Porzingis back, I'm not guaranteed. I don't know for sure he is going to play. And I think Shamet is the guy that we could probably like try first and see what we're left with from there. But I'm with you. I think maybe if Porzingis was out, I'd be okay. But I think Jalen Brunson's more of a tournament. You're just praying that he does get minutes, because you're right. There's a scenario where he doesn't get any today. There is.
Yeah. All right. So throw Shamet in with those two studs, and
we got 52-66.
Okay. I think you really want, either Zubac or Montrez, and I think for cash it's Montrezl.
See what that does. 74. We're down to 4,200.
Okay. So we gonna need some cheapness. I'm not opposed to Mo Harkless or Zubac. We're kind of gonna need one of them. Maybe instead of Montrez, we go Zubac for the savings.
For the salary, yeah, we could do that. 46. Yeah, we could do that. All right.
All right. Probably want somebody else from Dallas.
Maybe Seth Curry or something. 4K. His minutes could be affected also, but
yeah, they probably will. I think Maxi Kleber's the biggest loser.
Yeah, he's the biggest loser for sure.
In terms of like security of minutes, like Dorian Finney-Smith's going to play a lot of minutes, and he chucks up a lot of threes for this team. He's 58. He's going to be out there to guard Kawhi as much as possible, right? I would say like him or Hardaway are going to get minutes and take shots. I would say like one of those two would be the Dallas Maverick that I want in this lineup.
If we go with Finney-Smith, we've got 5,400 left for that last slot. Leaves us with JaMychal Green, DeLon Wright. I feel like there's got to be a better combination somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. How much is the difference from going to Kawhi and the captain and Luka, not?
It's significant. It should be significant, I think. If we go Kawhi instead,
we just had 54.
Now we got 6,050 for the two. I don't have JaMychal Green in there. Hold on. Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm sorry. Now we have 6,300, which can give us Dwight Powell if we wanted to. I'm sure we could maneuver this around in some way. Let's see what happens if we try to get Harold back in here. 3,500. So no, that wouldn't really work. Not with DFS.
Okay. All right, let me think about this. Put Jalen Brunson in there instead of, or maybe with Shamet instead of like, Dorian Finney-Smith.
Jalen. Okay. Brunson. 8,100 remaining. We're $100 away from Porzingis.
Right, but we could get Montrez and upgrade. And this was with Luka in the top spot or Kawhi
This
still?
is Kawhi in the top spot. Let's see what happens when we
Kawhi
go
in the
back.
top
Let's go to
spot.
Luka,
Yeah.
Kawhi. Now we have 7,200. That's what Brunson and Harrell and Shamet.
Yeah,
You know.
and Shamet.
I mean,
It's tough.
no, it is. Would you be opposed to? No, I don't even think I would. Nah, never mind. I wouldn't even want to do that. Never mind. Nah. It is tough. It is tough.
Yeah. Huh.
Let's see.
I'm curious who. I'm seeing like Hardaway and Tim Hardaway Jr. is projecting to be pretty popular. Landry Shamet. So like according to like ownership projections, I'm seeing Luka and the captain, Kawhi utility, Shamet utility, Montrezl utility, Tim Hardaway utility. So if you just throw all those guys in, where are we at?
Say it again.
Luka and the cap.
Yeah.
Kawhi utility.
They're all utilities, so you just say the players.
Yeah. Montrezl, Shamet, Hardaway. What does that leave us with?
Hardaway, Montrezl. It leaves us with 2,000, which of course you could go with what's his name, Jalen Brunson. You'd be leaving some money on the table.
Pat, Magruder. Yeah.
You got some.
It's ugly though, but
ugly.
that's why I envision Brunson being so popular because, if he does play, he's going to do well. He's aggressive. He's a scorer, but we don't know if he's definitely going to play. It's like they're already pretty crowded with Delon Wright and Seth Curry.
Right. Hey man.
But what if you swap Kawhi and Luka in that build? Then what are you left with? 48.
Let's see. Kawhi, Luka,
Hardaway, Shamet, Montrez.
2,900, which doesn't really do much for you.
No, it does nothing.
Gonna leave you
Damn.
in Snowman's land. As far as, let's see if this is for today. See if it's any different on FanDuel. Let's plug these guys in. So say Luka up top, Kawhi 86, and the cheapest, obviously the cheapest players here aren't as good. Jalen Brunson 6K over here. A little more straightforward, it looks like over there.
Yeah, right. It's like Luka, Kawhi, pick your next guy, and then whatever it takes to fit them.
Yeah, a little more forward over there. Yeah, interesting.
So, let me ask you a couple questions. Are you playing any Boban?
I did project him for 5 minutes just to make sure I got some, but it looks like it did not give me any. I had him a couple times in a few crunches. It's just, I guess this particular crunch didn't give me any. But I do want a little bit. Because he's the guy that could really just like destroy.
Yeah. I mean, you look at his box score. Like, he played 9 minutes, went for 20, 3 appearances ago.
Right.
That's game changing. And it's a revenge spot, and it's a great spot because Clippers suck against bigs.
Right. I'm trying. I don't want to over project him because I don't want to giving
Just put a cap on them. Just put 5% cap or 3%
Right,
cap.
right. But I got to be mindful of the people who are using our projections. Like if they just take it, upload it, and don't
Oh,
cap
no,
it.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
I
saying?
got you. I'm not saying put it in our projection. I'm saying in
Well,
your
I want to put it in
fantasy
some
cruncher.
because like everybody else has them at 0. I don't want to leave them at 0.
Right. And that's why I think he's interesting, right? Because everyone else has him at 0, I just think he's going to be super low. So I like if you have 20 teams, I would have him on at least 2
Yeah,
and at most 3.
yeah, yeah. Very
But those, you got to have him on 2. You know what I mean? It's like,
like a toiga.
yeah, but so like, all right, so now you have Boban in the lineup. Like, you know, I would also probably look to play Brunson in that lineup, right? So like, we're kind of almost reverse engineering this, right? So you put Brunson and Boban in the utils, right? Throw either one of Kawhi or Luka up top. What do we have for the remaining 3?
For our DraftKings,
Yeah,
you said throw in Boban in this one.
Boban and Brunson in the utilities. Take your pick of Luka or Kawhi in the captain, and then the other one in a utility. So we have 2 guys left. How much money?
7,600 each.
76. So you could do, Montrez and Zubac, or that allows you to. That's an interesting approach, right? It's like, whoever you put in the captain is the team you think ends up kind of running away with it and allowing for some blowout time for Luka and Brunson, to do their thing. Right?
Yeah.
But like if you're playing Boban, it's like it's most likely blowout time that he's getting that run.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Probably, definitely blowout time he's getting that run.
So like, not captain, but utility wise, after say Luka, Kawhi, Shamet, Lou Williams, and Harrell, who is your next highest exposed player?
Let me see. I'll tell you right now. As of right now, outside of those guys, you said outside of no Zubac either, right?
No, you could say Zubac.
Zubac and Lou Williams are my next 2 after the obvious, like Shamet and Kawhi and all those guys.
Uh-huh. Who is your highest non-Luka Dallas player?
I guess Brunson right now. Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. I mean, Hardaway at about 20, Porzingis at 23. So outside of Brunson, I guess Porzingis would be that guy.
Who do you think is more likely to play in a close game, Brunson or JJ Barea?
Well, right now I'd have to say Brunson because Brunson's at least still playing. For whatever reason, they're not playing Bray at all anymore. He hasn't played since the 14th, and he played 8 minutes that day.
Yeah, I think that's the same.
It does say he played
last
through
time
an
Boban
illness.
played.
It does say he played through an illness, so I wonder. Like, is he really? Oh no, well, yeah, because before that he didn't play since the 6th, so he played on the 6th, and then he didn't play until the 14th, and that was the 8 minutes he played.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sucks. I would love to get a crack at Barea, but it's hard to commit to that right now. 30s and 7s, and 7s and 30s.
It is.
Tis what it is. Let's see some.
Who do you like better, Lou Williams or Montrez?
I like Lou Williams a lot better.
Me too. But I do like them both.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm good with them both, but I like Montrez better. Done. What happened to your camera? Oh, your camera's froze. It looks like. I haven't looked.
My bad.
I haven't looked at the screen in a little bit, so I don't even know it. I'm looking at my other screen. We have about 8 minutes to lock here.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it that way for a sec because I gotta adjust some teams before lock.
Team life.
There's no late swap today.
No, that's it. You put it out, you get it out. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't got no late swaptimizer tool to do like my see what my exposures are, and all that fucky shit.
Fucky shit all day.
All day.
All day.
Another thing that I'm doing that I'm actually curious what you think about this, but I jacked up the randomizer. I put it up to like 13. I just want to increase my differenceness. The randomness
You're right.
thing.
Yeah. I didn't mess with mine too much, but I did think about it because if you think it makes sense. In terms of like wanting to shuffle things up a little bit, especially if you're not when you're not doing the 150 or whatever like you're used to.
Yep. What about random? I mean, uniques. Did you keep that at 2?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I mean, how many? There's not that many players. I don't want it to give me guys, just because like I ran out of guys to give you. With one game, I'm afraid to touch too much of the settings because there's just not that many people.
Mm-hmm.
How much Brunson? Like, how many teams did you play? First of all,
20.
20 teams. How much Brunson do you have?
25%. He's on 5 teams.
Wow.
Like, he's the guy I want to be under on, to be honest. I feel like there's a chance he doesn't play, and the field's going to be way over on him. And, like, even if he does play, it could be like 6 minutes. And I think he's going to be the guy that hurts the field more than helps.
Yeah, I feel you. Long and hard. Well, I'm making some questions in here.
Find myself
do you
getting more Harkless now all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like. Huh. Well, I mean, the price is very low. You want to talk about a guy that could play big minutes, right? Like, it does make sense, I think. Now that you mention, I'm gonna raise Harkless's minutes just a little bit because we actually only have him for like 19, and I don't think that's legit. That did not do much. Not as much as I thought it would. He's such a low point per minute player. It's
Yeah.
What was his injury? Any idea?
Who?
Harkless.
Yeah, I can tell you. 6 minutes to lock, by the way.
6 minutes.
I know Kristaps was a knee, if you were wondering about that one.
No, him I remembered.
Harkless was a back.
Carrying the team on his back, though. That's why his back hurts.
Lower back soreness.
Sebastian back. Oh. No, I'm rocking with this regardless. Find out. We're going to learn today. No, you got to watch that second half. I don't think I can play the second half slate thing.
Why?
Yeah, I think in New Jersey, believe it or not, it doesn't seem to let me do it when I tried the flash draft you were telling me about that you did the other day.
No, that's a different thing. Flash draft is like only in football, but for basketball, it's in-game showdown, not in the showdown.
Well, yeah,
it's got its own.
I was actually talking about the flash draft. I know I said the half thing, but I was referring to
yeah, second half. No, flash draft, that's football.
Yeah. But you mentioned that you played it. It won't let you do it from here, from Jersey. Was my point.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
So we could do a lot here, but not that for some reason. So we got a couple minutes to lock and answer some quick questions. Just gonna run through on you. We covered the cash build. Do you play cash on showdowns?
I do not.
I'm thinking Mavs win big tonight. Okay, including garbage. Any thought on Porzingis plays 26 to 28 minutes tonight? A close game, I could see it. Yeah, I think that's about accurate. I think he could play up to 30. Because all they're saying he's going to
Agreed.
play in shorter spurts. They're not saying he's going to play like significantly less. I mean, I think in the end it's going to impact how much he plays. But if this game goes to OT, I don't know. Like I think they will play him at least a little. Dallas struggles against post agile players. Love Harold tonight. Is it different for FanDuel? Not really. But we went through it. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're about 3 minutes to lock at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. 30.
So, I mean, I don't think anything crazy is going to happen. We're just going to run up out of here and not much to talk about on a site like this. Appreciate those of you who grinded out and continue to, degen out, I think we could say. Always fun talking sports. A little different to do a one-game slate. But, again, when we're dealing with the nation, it's always a good time. So, appreciate everyone out there. And don't miss, if you are playing PGA, don't miss the PGA Wise stream. That'll be later on. Today, I think we're 9:30. I think is 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check it out. And if you haven't subscribed to our new YouTube channel, make sure you do subscribe to it if you want to watch on YouTube. We made a second channel while we work out the details on the other channel. Hopefully, we'll be back on the other channel soon. But for now, go find the new one. For Paulie D,
7.
for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.